Hey YouTube, Phil/Polygon here. Welcome to episode 13 of the channel, Lucky 13. And I'm just chilling here in Oolacile Township on a Saturday night, my usual haunt. Just doing some Dark Souls PvP commentary, just generally living that rock star life, let me tell you. I gotta say, it feels a little bit like a Mardi Gras parade because everybody I'm coming up against is wearing some kind of goofy mask. And I apparently did not get the memo that this was an eyes wide shut convention. So I might talk about that a little bit, but that's more of an observation than anything else. What I was going to talk about this episode was poise, specifically rolling with low poise. I modified the gear on my dex build a little bit. This is the same build I was using in the last episode on episode 12. And actually, it's the same build I was using in episodes 1 through 3, the very first episodes of the channel, because this is the very first build I ever made in Dark Souls. So she's kind of my special lady. I've been with her the longest in the game. But I have been rolling with significantly less poise than I am comfortable with, just to try and force myself to work on toggles and elevate my game and all that kind of thing. So I was going to talk a little bit about that, especially in the context of being a new-ish player. I'm sure a lot of it is applicable to maybe some of the vets out there too, if you've been rolling with a lot of poise consistently. But it has been a tough road to hoe, man. It has been pretty frustrating and pretty rewarding and pretty terrible. Likely in that order. So we're going to talk about some poise. I also had some further follow-up thoughts throwing back to episode 12 about giant dads. I came across a pretty epic Pops versus Pops throwdown that I am really excited to share and throw out some further thoughts about just sort of the giant dad meme and clear up some of the air from episode 12 from some some diminutive comments I may have made about the build. I just wanted to say thanks again to everybody that popped by over the last couple episodes and dropped some knowledge, took me to task on a couple things. I have never had so much fun feeling so stupid. Episode 13, here we go. Blech. I hate seeing stuff like that first clip. I hate participating in stuff like that first clip. But come on, man. It was an honor duel. You summoned me. We bowed. Estes ain't got no place in that. Anyways, poise. So setting a little bit of context around this, like I said, I'm still rolling my same dex build. I think I give a look at it later so you can see the stats and all that kind of thing. But in the last episode, I was rolling with the Elite Knight armor set. So that's got some pretty good poise and pretty spectacular defense for the weight and class. So it was kind of a nice safety blanket wrapped around me to go out and play with. Just on a whim, I was thinking, you know what, I really want to work on toggles. I want to get better at that. I want to get more careful and precise with my attacks. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop my poise. I am going to pick up a heavier weapon to sort of exaggerate the penalty for having low poise, getting interrupted with those slow swings. And then I really wanted to work on using less reliance on my shield, or having less reliance on my shield. Taking all of those three things together and doing them at once is probably a recipe for disaster. I did okay with the build early on, but it became very clear very quickly that if you want to roll with low poise, man, you got to be pretty quick on the toggles. So I am currently with 21 poise via a combination of my Silver Knight gauntlets and my Elite Knight leggings. I kind of like that combination, and I think my special lady looks pretty fetching in her painting guardian robe. So I like the way it looks. I don't have the greatest defense, so I threw on a Ring of Steel protection. And then I picked up a Flamberge, or Flamberge. I'm not sure how to say it. Whichever one doesn't sound like a flaming cherries dessert is how I will say it. But I dug deep into the bottomless box, and I had a kind of a choice between the Flamberge and the Murakumo. I don't have the strength with this build to wield the Murakumo one hand, so it's kind of like, all right, Flamberge. So I upgraded it, threw on my new armor setup, and was like, all right, this is the build. Away we go. And so I guess there was actually kind of a fourth element working against me too in terms of this setup, because I don't know anything about this weapon, the Flamberge or the Murakumo, either one. So not great. But there, case in point, man, that guy carved me up like an Easter ham. So it became brutally evident that toggling was of the utmost necessity. Maybe that's bad timing because there's all the buzz in the community about the toggle being removed in Dark Souls 2. But there's still a decent chunk of time between now and then, so I wanted to just kind of get a handle on it for the remaining couple of months that I'm playing Dark Souls, and any time after that as well. Maybe I'll be able to jump back and forth. I also kind of felt myself developing some bad habits regarding poise and the shield. Terrible timing because I just busted out my shield, but I always kind of relied on those things when the fray was getting just a little bit too hectic. It was the shield was always sort of the safety net that I could bust out and be a little bit more comfortable and get my feet under me. So it has been a pretty good chunk of losses and farming humanity as I'm trying to get my feet under me with this setup. The cost of improvement, the price of improvement. And I gotta jump away from the poise toggling discussion for just a moment. Apologies on the bad editing on my part. Concerning some comments I made regarding giant dads in episode 12 on the last one, 2 of them show up in my world, and I am pretty stoked to see this go down. Like, I'm throwing out a joy emote, and look at them just, what is it, back and forth at each other, like a couple of grizzly bears. They're just rearing up and roaring. Well, what is it? Well, what is it? Well, what is it? Well, what is it? So I'm pretty stoked to see this go down in all of its glory. I whip out my bow so I can scope in and get a better vantage here. But yeah, so in the last episode, I had asked the question, had anybody come across a giant dad that could play the build really well? In my experience, they've always been sort of subscribers to like the run and stun or the stun and gun, whatever we want to call it, technique, where they swing, they run up to you, they swing their giant sword and just keep swinging until they run out of stamina, just looking for that stun lock to basically put you down, relying on that stun lock. And I think I came across one that is doing a pretty bang up job with the build. He plays kind of smart. This one right here, they came away with the win. I'll run up to him and actually get a bow out of him too, so not your typical giant dad. Oh my god, look at him back away too, eyeballing me. Careful now, easy now, dealing with a legend. Style points through the roof on this guy. So I'm pretty excited for these next couple of clips because ask and ye shall receive. I think I've found a pretty good giant dad. And it was absolutely not my intent to kind of be pejorative to the build itself. In terms of the build that Only Afro put together, I think it's pretty badass. I think it is just so well tuned and so clever to do what it's supposed to do. It is just optimized perfectly to wear this heavy armor, swing around this big ass sword, knock you around with it, and fast roll. And that is pretty cool. And now look at this guy. So that, I think, really made me appreciate what he was doing, because instead of just spamming, he saw me run in there for that parry and tried to kick me away. That was a nice responsive response, I guess, on his part. Nice punish on the jumping attack, and I am still terrible with my toggles, so I crumpled like a tin can. So if I insulted any legit giant dads out there, that was absolutely not my intent. I did not mean to condescend to the build. I think the build is pretty cool, and I actually got a lot of great feedback in the comments too from people that play as giant dads, and they're like, yeah, I play as a giant dad and I kind of play the shit out of it. Here's what I do, here's what I look out for, here's the things you got to be careful of, and some pretty nice conversation around the giant dad build. Here's again, I get him a couple more times. And I don't think this guy, just even with the bow, I don't think this guy is your typical giant dad, because he is able to wield his Chaos Zweihander with one hand, which I guess is a little weird because it says Zweihander, and why would you Einshand it? I don't know the intricacies of German, so I'm not going to explore that too far. But so I think his build might be tweaked a little bit, and he's actually got his medium roll here. I don't know if he changed something out, or if he's playing a little bit differently, but yeah, pretty cool. Good job, man. Good job playing this build. I think on this one he actually gets me again, but it's a little bit better fight than that last one, and I finally get him on the third one, mostly because he gets kind of hung up on trying to parry me, and I was trying to be a little bit tricky with my timing and stuff like that. So I think if he had played all 3 of them straight, he might have come along with a 3-game sweep. So nice job, man, and thank you to all the people that responded in defense of the giant dad. I was seriously not trying to talk shit about it. I was just kind of relating my experience. Alright, so we'll turn off the side street and get back on the main highway now. Jump back to the toggling poise discussion. The part of it that I'm having the most problem with is doing it by instinct. For me, toggling is still a very conscious effort. I have to fight against the impulse when I get stun locked to grab that left stick, mash down, and spam the roll button, hoping against hope that the stun lock will break and I'll be able to roll away to safety. That is not the reality with a lot of weapons. I'm sure all of us have been stun locked from time to time and had that helpless feeling when you're just trying to mash, roll away, maybe before you discovered the toggle and all that kind of thing. And I am having to spend a lot of time breaking myself out of the habit of trying to do that. Trying to have that toggle by reflex capability. Because I've seen a lot of clips from a lot of superstar players that can do exactly that. I mean, they just get hit once from anything and immediately toggle out of it and keep on as if not missing a beat. It's as if they have all the poise in the world. And at that point, yeah, why bother worrying with poise? Roll with no poise. Roll with armor that's light, that frees you up from a ring slot, that, you know, you think it looks cool. You don't have to worry about the poise capability, because that's what this is really about, right? Vanity, the low poise thing, being able to wear whatever armor you want, regardless of its poise value. No, I'm kidding. So I'd be really curious to hear how you guys kind of beat that, you awesome togglers out there, you toggle superstars. Because I'm doing a couple things. I'm going down into New Londo and going down to no poise and taking on those dark wraiths down there when I'm farming Titanite chunks, because they've got some pretty airtight combos that'll slice you up. So I'll let them take a couple swings at me and practice toggling out of them, because if I don't, I will die and I will lose my precious, precious souls. That's PvE. I don't know how much confidence I actually have in that in terms of the timings being the same when you take it out into PvP. So for the most part, I've just been running out into PvP and practicing my toggles, mostly failed attempts. And there's a little bit, man, I am just having a difficult time with this turtle. Freaking Leonardo over here. No, I can't say Leonardo. That's my second Ninja Turtles reference in 2 episodes. I gotta pick another turtle. Myrtle. Having a big problem with Myrtle over here. Trying to dead angle him a little bit, and he is just hiding behind that tower shield. Poke, poke, poke. So anyways, yeah, I'm for the most part just going out into PvP and kind of making an ass of myself and just trying to learn trial by fire type stuff. So in addition to fighting against instinct, fighting against my natural impulse to just try and roll away, I'm fighting against pride a little bit. Pride is always the enemy of improvement, because it sucks to get embarrassed to go out there and fight guys that you fought before and have a decent rapport with and just get blown away by a stun lock or something like that. So there's that vanity again coming back. But it does come into play, at least it does for me. Maybe I'm flying solo on this sentiment, but I mean, I think everybody that goes out into PvP has at least some little streak of competitiveness in them. That's why you do PvP. It's fun to go out there and measure up against other players and play against other players. And the way that you display improvement, the way that you demonstrate the fact that you're getting better is by making a good showing. So it kind of sucks to be like in that practice phase and then go out there and just kind of get popped like a balloon. But you know, I mean, if that's the way to go about it, if that's the best way to do it, I got no problem going out there and looking like a fool and sharing it publicly for the world to see. So now, a little bit of another change. This guy, I'm not sure what to make of him, because he's coming. Oh, so he comes in guns blazing with his SLB large club, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of hitting him. He's got no poise. Hooray! The thing of it's that is a little bit weird though. When you add up all the damage that I take from him, or I put up against him, it ends up being like 2300 HP. He's got his SLB. He was hitting pretty hard with that thing, and he dropped 396 souls. Does that math add up? I'm not versed enough to know, but I think I should get a little bit more than that from somebody with 2300 HP, right? Here he is again. He comes in with a different build, and over the course of this fight, he actually gets me on this one, and going back and watching it, it's kind of like, Christ, how much stamina does that guy have? Check him fire off these R2s, just poke after poke after poke after poke with that Balder side sword, SLB on it, and I'm doing my best to get out of the way out of it, but it's kind of like, good lord. So I'm asking for a little bit of context. I don't want to make accusations. That's a little bit rotten. But is there some gear combination between a Grass Crest shield and green blossoms and a Chloranthy ring that will give you this kind of stamina that you can just swing willy-nilly like this? I don't know. And if there is, please clue me in. I actually ran out here to try and test this because I have a Balder side sword. So I ran into the little Artorias area, threw it on, and started spamming that R2 just to see how many pokes I could get out of it. I've got 45 endurance, it's capped at 40, whatever. I've got my Grass Crest shield on. I was able to get 4 of these, and I don't think it could be a regeneration thing, right? Because your stamina does not come back when you are taking action. It's only when you are sort of at rest. I don't know. Back to the fray for now. I'll chalk it up to the shrug. I will say though, on a completely unrelated note, of course, that I've been pretty pleased with like the hacker modder situation. I'm playing on the PC, and it seems like that would be the quintessential platform for that kind of crap going down. And for the most part, I don't run into a lot of guys that have unlimited health or modded stats or illegal gear or something like that. Conversely, I might be running into nothing but those guys, and I'm just not well versed enough in armor values and attack ratings and things like that to recognize it. But for the most part, I've been pretty lucky. I have been incredibly lucky in terms of running into people that are just outright cheating. So that's kind of cool. And also kind of on that note, just as following this train of thought, maybe it's not a train because it doesn't seem to be on the tracks. I saw just recently a video from the Sunlight Blade about like legendary glitches, and I left him a comment on there asking if he had seen any correlation in terms of guys using hacked gear and modded stats and stuff like that, and the patching of the bottomless box and dragon head glitch. My line of thinking along these lines was, you know, prior to patch 1.6, before that, when the bottomless box glitch and the dragon head glitch still existed, you could use in-game means to get gear quickly and put together PvP builds and put together powerful builds without having to go through all the game and things like that. When that was patched in 1.06, you suddenly had to rely on these external tools, these mod tools, save editors and cheat engines and things like that, to have that same kind of power, that same kind of ability to be able to put these builds together. With that external tool usage, you could suddenly also start modifying your stats. It wasn't just to get items with which to build out your character naturally. You could actually flat out cheat. And so I'm wondering if there was some sort of tie between the patching of those things and a rise in cheaters. I was not around during those days. I actually started playing, you know, like I've said before, just a few months ago, and I picked it up on the PC, so it was the Prepare to Die edition. All that stuff had already been patched. And so I never existed in a world with the bottomless box glitch or the dragon head glitch. Every time I put a build together, I have to go through the entire game, gather up my gear, farm souls, all that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't have any point of reference, but I'd be really curious to hear, just maybe from memory, just kind of off the cuff. God, that was a terrible little piece of lag there. Went through me like a butter knife, man. But yeah, I'd be really curious to hear from the guys that have been around for a while and kind of witnessed the patch and witnessed the disappearance of those glitches and kind of the primary in-game means, exploit or not, to make PvP builds quickly. Right after that patch came out, was there an increase in cheaters and modders and stuff like that? Or have, you know, those guys been around from the beginning and there wasn't really any correlation? I thought it was kind of an interesting thought, if nothing else, and I'd be curious to hear. And I guess what I mean is like the temptation behind using, if you're using a third-party tool, if you're using a save editor or a cheat engine or something like that to give yourself, you know, the souls with which to level up your character and the items so you don't have to run around and gather and farm for them, yeah, why not keep your guy level 1 and 99 out all your stats? And why not give yourself unlimited health in the meantime and unlimited stamina and all these other things that have come to kind of plague the cheating landscape, or when you run across these guys. Curious if nothing else. So I think we're going a little long. I'm gonna close it here. This is actually the last combat clip of the episode, and one thing to point out, some of the more astute viewers may have already noticed, dude, what happened to all your souls? Oh, my being a dumbass is what happened to all of my souls. I'll get to that in just a second. Let me finish this play out. And this was a nice couple of fights with this guy as well too. He was pretty fierce with that scimitar, waving that around. And, you know, I would love to whip out my shield. Here's me actively fighting against it and trying to improve. I would love to whip out my shield and try and parry this stuff, but I am fighting so hard against that temptation, against that urge. And so I'm just trying to move well, fight with my two-handed flamberge, cherries, jubilee, dessert, and do it straight that way. Anyways, here's what happened with my souls. I am so used to being a host that I forgot when you come back from an invasion, you are still in human form. Come on. I actually had one of my red eye orb invasions connect. I lost to the guy, he killed me, I came back, still in human form. Lose all your souls, lose all your humanity. I was frustrated, so I walked away, left the game running, left the recording running, refilled my coffee, took a little break or something like that, oblivious to what was going on, that the game was still going on in the background. To this guy's credit, he gives me all the time in the world. He's saying like, hello, are you there? Dances around a little bit, and he eventually offs me. And I gotta say, like, watching this play back is a little creepy. It's probably an exaggeration, but I imagine it's not unlike watching your house get burglarized on home surveillance footage after the fact, and you're just kind of a helpless spectator watching this go down, and you have this pit in your stomach, the indictment calendar going down, or the indictment counter going down. So just like that, 2 million souls down the drain. Not that big a deal. My build's already done, so it was more of a temporary setback than anything else, and we shall persevere. Not that big a deal, but that moment right there was kind of like, oh shit, as the calculations are running in my head and I'm realizing what just happened. Anyways, I'll be okay. Thanks as always for watching. Thanks for listening. Definitely leave me any kind of feedback in the comments, shoot me messages, whatever it is. And if you give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it is, I would actually ask if you give me a thumbs down, take a couple seconds, let me know why. Don't just do the swoop and poop, and we can try and improve the channel. And as always, see you next time.